Happy Friday out there, folks. This is Darius Dale to present our macro minute for Friday, January 14th, 2022. Starting with markets, we have stocks mixed with U.S. markets leading, commodities mixed with crude oil leading, crypto down, dollar down, global bond yields up. Big movers today, we have the Nikkei 225 and the Shanghai Composite Index down 1% apiece. Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Nat Gas down around 2% apiece. The 30-year Treasury yield up 4 basis points. On the economic front, we have PPI data out of the U.S. and Japan, and they were marginally confirming of our view that peak supply chain disruptions are squarely in the rearview mirror. So you had headline PPI in the U.S. decelerate to 9.7% year over year. That's the lowest print we've seen in a couple of months. These are December data points. Japan's headline PPI decelerated to 8.5% year over year. That's the lowest print we've seen since October as well. Taking it to the chart, so we've been monitoring a lot of growth and inflation metrics, particularly in the hard data on a SAR basis throughout the pandemic, because that's sort of helps us better capture the impulses associated with the pandemic itself. And what we saw here is a pretty material step function down on a SAR. On the SAR for PPI. So right here at 2%, that's the lowest print we've seen on a SAR basis since going back to November of 2020. So if that continues and we continue to see a dissipation of producer prices in terms of the impulse, that's actually quite positive for margins, which are already at an all-time high for the S&P already. That 15% figure, it actually may improve slightly from there into the early part of 2022, particularly after we see the peak in Omicron case counts and all that stuff. So just be aware of that in terms of the near-term setup for markets. We're obviously heading into earnings season today, and we'll be in earnings season the next few weeks. With respect to today's probable range setups, you got an overbought signal in the euro and the 10-year tips yield, oversold signal in the S&P 500, the Shanghai Composite Index, Bloomberg Dollar Index, U.S. dollar versus Canadian dollar, and U.S. dollar versus Japanese yen. With respect to S&P, it's still bullish VAMs at the lower boundary of its probable range with 5% upside. Be a good spot to hear if you believe in the Q for earnings dynamics. We do. The WTI, it's bullish VAM, still minus 8% of downside versus 2% of upside. Bloomberg Dollar Index minus 0.1% of downside versus 1.8% of upside. That's neutral VAMs. 10-year Treasury yield minus 16 basis points of downside versus 8 basis points of downside. Still bullish VAMs there. Bitcoin and Ethereum both still bearish VAMs. Bitcoin's got 10% downside versus 10% upside in its probable range, and Ethereum minus 12% downside versus 13% upside. And then lastly, gold neutral VAMs minus 2.5% downside versus 1.5% upside. So with that, Darius Dale here to present our macro minute for Friday, January 14th, 2022. I believe we're off on Monday for Martin Luther King Day, probably my favorite holiday for a lot of reasons, but a lot of what we stand for here at 42 Macro in terms of the contributions Dr. King made to not just our country, but our society really resonate with me, and I hope they continue to resonate with you guys. His contributions were not lost, so we appreciate him for that. We appreciate you for watching, and catch you back here next week.